Good motto. This channel is now 4 years old. This is its 4th anniversary. And today we will talk about how enlightenment starts. What is the beginning of the process of enlightenment when the thing consolidates, integrates? Hello, this is Shores of Infinity with a video about how enlightenment starts. It starts first with peak experiences. Most of you probably know this from your own experience. It's a journey from peak experience to peak experience. And what's in between peak experiences? Valleys. You go up and down, up and down, up and down, until after years, when you talk about 7 or 8 or 10 years, after years it starts to consolidate and you don't have to go down into these terrible valleys anymore. For 4 years now I have been preaching to you the word of the Lord. No, not the word of the Lord, but I've been trying to encourage you to experience and explore subjectively by yourself. Make your own experiences. Don't listen too much to others. Your path is your path, and you can't walk someone else's path. One of the few spiritual teachers who have understood this, that you have to find your own path, was Sri Aurobindo. So in his books like The Synthesis of Yoga or The Life Divine, he talks as generally as possible to map out a landscape, that you then have to navigate, and he describes as much as possible that you could encounter there, so that if you arrive at this or that place, you know where you are. And you will not arrive at all the places he talks about, but some, depending on your path. So this is a good topic and chapter 18 in book 2 of the Life Divine, the Ascent and Integration, the evolutionary process. It's a good topic for the 4th anniversary video of this channel. Thank you for sticking with me that long. And thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for joining me on Patreon. And thank you for all my patrons who are there, some of them for years already. Thank you very much. So, let us see the Ascent and Integration. That is our goal on the spiritual path. There are some commonalities about every spiritual path, and 2 of those are it's somehow like an ascent, because you have then a bird's eye view. If you're on the peak of a mountain, you're not a better human being, but you have a better view of what's going on. And integration, we always have to integrate these experiences, to integrate and consolidate. It's like a sewing machine. You have to go up and down, up and down, up and down. You have to pull the lower up, and you have to bring the higher down. And higher and lower doesn't mean better. That's very important. Just like in spiral dynamics, the different colors, one is not better than the other. It just affords another view. A new color affords another view, more overview, a clearer sight, less veiled. Okay, so there's some pretty cool Veda quotes here at the beginning of the chapter. As he mounts from peak to peak, Indra makes him conscious of that goal of his movement. So this is from peak to peak. Of course, you cannot fly from peak to peak, and there are usually no ladders or bridges. You always have to go down before you ascend the next peak. As a mountaineer, for example, and spirituality is just exactly the same. So at first it will be peak experiences, and the more peak experiences you had, the more you will be conscious of that movement, of how consciousness actually behaves, what kind of thing that is. Consciousness is not a substance, it's not an energy, it's something else. Yeah? It's more than matter, more than life, more than mind. It's beyond the mind, above the mind, above energy, life, nature, and matter. That's why he calls it the supramental, or the supermind. It's not a better mind, it's beyond, it's above the mind, and also above life and matter. Although matter, life, energy, and mind are part of it, it's not limited by it, it's much more than that. Satchit Ananda, basically. It's very similar. It's not the same, but the supramental and Satchit Ananda are very similar. The next Rig Veda quote is, "A son of two mothers, he attains to kinship in his discoveries of knowledge. He moves on the summit, he dwells in his high foundation." It's called he moves on the summit and he dwells in his high foundation. Usually a foundation is down below. What is a high foundation? The thing is, the interesting thing about this quote is a son of two mothers. So as human beings, we are children of two mothers, of matter and of consciousness. We are both, and we tend to forget, or at least 80% or 70% of humanity forgets. They only identify with matter and with what they can touch and see and hear and smell. They forget about consciousness, especially in science. Science, I think if it's not measurable by machines, it doesn't exist, which is of course bullshit. So we are sons and daughters of two mothers, of consciousness and of matter. Without matter, nothing can be manifest, of course. But without consciousness, there is no life and no movement. And this force that permeates everything, this chit, that is working through us, and it wants us. It's part of our destiny. It wants us to wake up. And from that point of spiritual awakening, when you realize that you are not your body, you're not your mind, you're not your emotions, you don't know exactly what you are, but you're not what you thought you were so far. That is spiritual awakening. And from that point, you have this arduous journey from peak to peak, until you manage to integrate and consolidate this, and until you reach a high foundation. Again, it's not a better way of life. But it's a high foundation, means you have a foundation in consciousness as well, not only in matter. Then the third quote from Yajur Veda, "I have arisen from earth to the midworld. I have arisen from the midworld to heaven. From the level of the firmament of heaven, I have gone to the sun world, the light." So here it's a poetic description of enlightenment. Yeah? I have arisen from the midworld. We arise, we ascend from the midworld. We are living in the midworld. We're somewhere in between. Yeah? We're not only matter, we're not only stones, sticks and stones, but we're not only consciousness either. We're somewhere in between. We're caught in between two worlds. Gurdjieff also talked about that life on earth is in between. Yeah? We're not the planet only. We're not the solar system only. We're not only inanimate matter. But we're not consciousness either. We're subject to laws. And life on this planet has a certain purpose. And according to Gurdjieff and Sri Aurobindo and Meher Baba and other, and the Vedas and the Upanishads, this purpose is to wake up. This purpose is evolution of consciousness. And this evolution is a movement. It is a movement and action. Now there's a law of action, and there's an action of unconscious, of ignorance, and an action of consciousness, which becomes more and more complete. But maybe as human beings, who knows, maybe as human beings we can never reach a complete consciousness, probably. But we can somehow access it. It's not really that there's a transformation. He also uses the word transformation. There is a transformation, but that transformation is not something that you should do or be able to do. It's something that you should let happen. Again, we have this submission, this surrender. We have to open up to this higher consciousness, to this Chit, to this Satchitananda, to the supramental, and let it transform us. Life takes up matter and mind takes up life. So life and mind, they want to evolve. Even matter wants to evolve. The universe changes. On the one hand, there are certain principles of the universe that always stay the same, they're constant. And others, they change all the time. And our human consciousness and energy also can change. We are meant to have a conscious life as human beings. That's our potential and our higher purpose. And we can prevent this in swimming against the stream, against the current, which is a very horrible life. If you always swim against the current, it's very exhausting. So for once, the only thing we have to do is to turn around and swim with the current. To not see the world as hostile and the divine as hostile, but to swim with the currents. And we have to traverse through these realms, the gross, the subtle, or vital, how he calls it, and the mental or causal realm. And then beyond that we arrive at the supramental. And it's not so easy, of course. In the physical realm we have problems like physical sicknesses, for example. And in the subtle realm, in the vital realm, we have all these weird beings and energies that should be avoided. And then in the mental realm, again, we have other distractions. But there we are already close to the goal. So he says there is a goal. Again, there are many traditions like Advaita who say there is no goal. A goal is just, again, a delusion, another delusion of grandeur. And there, he says, there is an intelligence behind all this. The universe is not dumb. It's not just accident. There is a guiding intelligence behind it that is, at least for now, not comprehensible to us. So in a way we start as mystics, as sages, seers, prophets, God lovers, yogins, Sufis, whatever our path is. But we're open to the mystical. We feel that there's something else and we're not sure what to do with it. Are we supposed to worship it or what? But we're seeking it nonetheless. And we have at some point to leave the security of matter. Matter makes us feel secure. It's our foundation we grew up with, and we have to exchange this foundation for a foundation of consciousness. The higher foundation of the peaks. At some point we have to somehow give up, give in, surrender, so that the supramental energy can lift us up. If we don't want to be lifted up, it doesn't work. It's like this joke when God sends this guy in a flood catastrophe, boats and helicopters and whatnot, and he waits for God to rescue him personally. No, we have to. There will be no being turning up and says, okay, here, now you're enlightened and come with me, I will take you up to heavens. That's the problem with reading the Bible too much. No archetypal father figure or archetypal mother figure will come and pick us up personally. The possibility is there, the disposition is there to transform, and we have to let it happen by deciding that we want to go inwards and upwards. Usually human beings are quite conservative. They want to keep everything as it is. But our movement is upwards and inwards. If we want to ascend and integrate. He writes here, the outer world itself will become inward to the spiritual awareness, a part of itself intimately embraced in a knowledge of feeling of unity and identity, penetrated by an intuitive regard of the mind, responded to by the direct contact of consciousness with consciousness, taken into an achieved integrality. So here again, the key is intuition. Intuition is your friend. Forget about thoughts and emotions and instincts. Go for intuition. Intuition is your red thread, your silver thread that will lead you out of the dark labyrinth. Then he writes, the old inconscient foundation itself will be made conscious in us by the inflow of light and awareness from above, and its depth annexed to the heights of the spirit. An integral consciousness will be the basis of an entire harmonization of life through the total transformation, unification, and integration of the being and the nature. This means that what we thought before that we are will become only an outer hull, will become like a building or an entrance or hallway to what is really happening. So we keep this stuff that we have now, that we now think is me. But this will just be a structure around what is really happening. And again he mentions here, if we don't manage to do this as human beings, fulfill our destiny, we will pass sentence of unfitness on our own species and may be replaced by evolution. For example, artificial intelligence. Yeah, maybe our goal is to just invent super intelligent, alive computer systems, and then they will replace us. Who knows? But then this is our fate. If we don't want this to be our fate, we have to concentrate on this inward and upward movement instead of security. For most people, security is the most important thing. And security means conservative, means keep everything as it is, no matter if it works or not. But we have this chance, even if it's only a chance of 1 in a million, or 1 in 10 million, or 1 in 100 million, who knows. There's also this theory that the more people reach enlightenment, the easier it becomes. Now he writes here, it is in human nature, in all human nature, to exceed itself by conscious evolution, to climb beyond what the human being is. Not individuals only, but in time the race also, in a general rule of being and living, if not in all its members, can have the hope, if it develops a sufficient will, to rise beyond the imperfection of our present very undivine nature, and to ascend to at least to a superior humanity, to rise nearer, if it cannot absolutely reach, to the divine superhumanhood. So also it is not something beyond. It's not about a paradise and an afterlife like in most religions. It's something that we can do here on earth. And not only can we do it, it's our purpose, it's our job to do this. And we can swim against the current and keep on complaining and dramatizing. We can swim with the current, open up, surrender, and let the transformation take place, take over. That is the ascent and integration, which, as I said before, will take years, usually. Around 7 years, if you average what most people who really went through it describe. 7 years after waking up, okay? Not 7 years since you kind of decided in a green way that this is interesting. It's not about interesting, it's going fully into it, trusting the process. Okay, thank you again to all patrons and to all those who stuck with this channel for 4 years. Thank you for liking and subscribing. It helps people find this channel and these videos. This is now probably the largest channel. If you just count the number of videos, this is probably the largest channel on Spell Dynamics, and maybe even the largest or one of the 2 largest channels on Sri Aurobindo. So we've come quite a way. Thank you. See you soon.